So this is the creating an unstoppable listing unique selling proposition class. It is July 24th, 2024. Good seeing everybody here. I have a question for you guys. Who has a unique selling proposition that you promote now to gather clients? So who already has kind of thought through and started promoting a unique selling proposition for your business? And what would that look like if you're willing to share? Anybody have a unique selling proposition? If I had to ask you, I'm just going to put a few people on the spot here. If I had to ask you, why would I use you instead of my neighbor who's a real estate agent? What would you say?
I'm
Glenda.
working on it.
Okay. Working on it.
Yeah, I'm getting the credibility website stood up this week with
Okay.
all the leads. And getting a unique domain as
Yep.
well to promote and make part of that.
Hmm.
And I'm going to leverage the designer to help me craft my hook, my pitch.
Great. Awesome. Okay. So, Glenda, how long have you been a listing agent?
I'm kind of new, about 3 years, but really 1 year, I would say, fully
Hmm.
into it.
Okay. So if I'm your neighbor, or let's say I'm not your neighbor, let's say I'm someone that you're just introduced to, maybe a referral, one of your past clients or friends refers me to you, and I have a house to sell, not in probate. So this is what we're going to talk about today is going to apply across the board to any listing that you're going to take. And I were to ask you, and I'm putting you on the spot, I realize, and most people don't answer this the way that I'm looking for, and that's okay. I'm not expecting a perfect answer. What I'm working with you on today is how to start thinking through your proposal and what you do that's unique. So I'm a seller. We've just been introduced, and I say, Glenda, why should I work with you instead of this person that I go to church with who said that they could list my house? Why should I work with you?
You should work with me because I'm a full service listing agent, uniquely experienced to get your house sold in the 21st market, 21st century real estate market. I not only use the traditional tools, but I'm what you would call a tech savvy agent. So I can leverage technology to get your home in front of more people, which will create more opportunities to get your house sold for the best price in the fastest way possible.
Outstanding. Good. Okay.
Don't nobody use it because I just made it up as we were going.
We'll pull it apart here in a minute. Right. Good. Good. Um, good. So who else? Who else has an answer that they'd like to share? Why should I use you instead of the person that I go to church with? And I'm not using that for any reason other than I got that one last time that I went on a listing appointment. I go to church with someone. Why should I use you and not them?
Well,
TJ, what are you gonna say? Oh, Maria, you first.
um, so
TJ
what
has
I
a second to
tell,
think.
I do only do listings, and I have been doing that for at least 9 or 10 years. I
Hmm.
specialize. My specialty happens to be 55 and over communities, and I'm basically trying to open up my probate section of my business.
Hmm.
But what I do for everybody, even though the 55 and over communities are generally less expensive than single family homes, I tell them that I will do at no cost to them, I'll do a Matterport virtual tour. I own a camera, so they
Hmm.
get a free, really, really nice virtual tour. I do exceptional photography because that happens to be my hobby and has been since I was a little kid.
Yep.
And also that for one reason or another, I've been working in real estate for 24 years and I'm in the top 1% of all the Miami agents. I do more closings than 99% of all realtors. So it stands to reason that obviously I put a lot of work into my work.
Outstanding. I love it. Okay. So you're kind of leaning on the niche that you're focused
Yes,
on.
yes,
Hey, you're going to
definitely a
list with
niche.
me because most real estate agents are general. focused on everything and generalized, and I'm focused exclusively on your type of community and the 55 plus
Mhm.
community. I rank
Yes.
in the top 1% of agents, and you get a free um, uh,
Matterport virtual tour.
Matterport virtual tour. Okay,
Mhm.
cool. Love it. All right, TJ, how
Okay.
about you?
Well, I've always kind of struggled with this, but
Mhm.
really I've been hashing it out a little bit. Um, one of the things is full service project manager um type of agent. And I'm really trying to dig into the like local, like really hyper local, mainly because I'm not really into traveling very far anymore.
Right.
So I'm really trying to focus hyper local on really the areas that I know very, very well, like extremely well. So I'm trying to dig into that as and use that as my unique selling proposition of like I know the area better than anyone kind of thing.
Cool. Okay. I've got a really good friend of mine in Cary, North Carolina. And if anyone's ever been to Cary or Raleigh, Cary is kind of a somewhat exclusive city. There's a inner loop that runs around the city called the Maynard Loop, and he only works in the Maynard Loop. And he tells people, I only work with properties between 750,000 and a million inside of the Maynard Loop, so I know properties like yours inside and out. That's it. Simple. I don't focus on general real estate. I focus on only properties like yours. And that's a good, unique selling proposition. So you kind of pulling it in local is going to help as you communicate with people, especially as they match that niche criteria. Kind of Marcia has Maria, sorry,
Yes.
has gotten it to where people match a unique criteria. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. So I just kind of wanted to understand what you guys were doing with your unique selling propositions. We're going to specifically go over that today, and I'm going to share a little bit of um, how I present a unique selling proposition in a way that I try to make it where I'm separating myself from the crowd. So this is ideally designed to be an unstoppable, unique selling proposition. I call it unstoppable because when I'm in my lane and when I'm doing a good job promoting my business, um, most of my calls are typically they're gonna turn away from being, hey, we're interviewing agents. We want you to be in that interview or tell us what you're doing into, hey, we see that you do blank. We want you to come list our house. So this was several years ago, before I moved to North Carolina. But the year that I moved, um, I was leaving Virginia. So the year I left Virginia, we had 751 people. I just lied, 749. I can't believe I messed that up. 749 people called and said, we see that you guys do blank, and I'm going to hold the USP back. We want you to come list our house. Now, that was in 2014. That was across a really broad range of counties and market areas, and we did not serve all those market areas. Um, in that area, there were still a lot of people that were upside down. So we didn't list 749 houses that year, but we had 749 listing leads that would have been laydowns. I moved into North Carolina and ran unique selling propositions like I'm going to show you today for a while. And every listing that I had was basically a complete laydown. Now, it takes some time to get your unique selling proposition out into the market where your audience all knows about it and they all think about you first. But at least I'm going to talk to you about how to start cultivating and establishing that unique selling proposition in a way that people call and say, hey, come list my house. I think we'd all agree come list me leads are better than come show us what you got leads. I would rather have a come list me lead. I already know what you have. I already know what you do. Come list my house. So this is where we start to become unstoppable. And that's what I want to teach you guys to do. All right. So, first off, we need to understand the problem that we have as listing agents. So I'm going to open it up to you guys. What are some of the problems that we have as listing agents? We want to grow our business. What are the challenges that we have in front of us that we have to overcome if we're going to grow? What are our challenges? We want to grow. We want to get more listing business, I hope. What's the problem?
Well, I can tell you that there are a few.
Yeah.
Um, most numerous is that people think they're holding a diamond in their hands that is worth more than the actual value based on today's market.
Okay.
So
Unrealistic clients.
unrealistic expectations.
Yep.
Sometimes I have to go in and say, the word of the day is patience, and despite that, they call me the next day and say, any activity on my listing? And it's only been on the market one day. So that's the one I find most frequently.
Okay.
Related to that is my neighbors say that, Susie down the street just sold her house for $900,000 and mine is nicer. And you go and look it up and they sold for less, much less. They're just not willing to own up to the truth.
Yeah.
So that happens often. And they take a neighbor's word as gospel as opposed to you, and you're the professional. So
I just had one of my past clients text me yesterday and said, "Hey, we're moving to Iowa. We were hoping to get 750 for our house." And I said, "Hey, based on my gut," I said, "I've got to get home and I've got to pull some comps and tell you what the house is worth. But based on my gut, I think you're between 650 and 700,000." And she said, "Hey, this house just sold for 800,000." And she sent me a link and I pulled it up and it sold for 725. So she literally had the link that she was sending me and it sold for 75 less than she said. And it wasn't just sold, it was sold 2.5 years ago. So sometimes people just misread the data that they're looking at. So what are some other problems? What are some other things that are standing in our way of listing more properties?
The consumer thinks that all real estate agents are basically the same.
Yeah, absolutely. Big time. Yep. What else? Anything else?
Sometimes when you call people, you've gotten a lead and you call them and they deny that they've been interested, despite the fact that they might put in all their information into whatever your lead source is. But they don't want to talk to them. They feel like you're going to pounce on them or something and they don't want to deal with it. They want to do things at their own pace and they don't really want to talk to somebody they don't know.
Big time. Big time. Yep.
Yeah.
Completely agree. We're not going to get into that part. I have my own things that I teach on how to get around people that want to move at their own pace. They don't want to be pressured into things. So they think, to Deborah's point, they think that we all do things the same. Or they think, and this is pretty similar to what Deborah said, or they think that they can do what we do. Okay, they think that they can do what we do. And the reality is, a lot of consumers can do what we do. Okay. Does anyone adamantly, vehemently disagree with me on that? That a lot of consumers can do what the average real estate agent does?
Well, in a market condition wherein it's a seller's market, homeowners feel that they're confident, sell their property on their own without an agent. And an economic downturn, it can reduce the number of people looking to sell as well, right? So it's a market condition scenario as well.
Yep, absolutely. It is one of the issues that we're facing with the market in general. So they either can do what we do, what agents do. Let's not say us on this call, but what agents do, or at least they think they can. So I've got a father-in-law who A lot of times I'll share stories and I go, man, I hope this story never gets to anyone. This is one of those stories that I hope gets to my father-in-law. I can't tell you how many times he's bought or sold properties without asking my wife or I anything. And I've been in this space for a long time. My wife is an exceptional agent and listing agent, and he's sold so many houses without her or without me. It's not even funny. It's like I can do exactly what you guys do, and I'll get the same result. And most of the time he loses a lot of money or creates major nightmares for himself down the road without knowing it. But he's the type that thinks that he can do what we do. Okay, what a good agent with a strong USP does. Okay. Um,
People don't know what they don't know.
they don't know what they don't know. Absolutely. They don't know what they don't know. Um, I don't know what or interruption means, but I'll tell you that another problem that we face is that we're reliant on our relationships. Okay. So we're reliant on our relationships, and you guys just pretend that or interruption is not on here because I have no idea why I put that word in. We're too reliant on our relationships. Now, how many of you have enough relationships, current friends and past clients, to give you all the business that you're ever going to need? Who has the exact number of relationships that to give you all the business that you're ever going to need? Anybody? Okay. Um, I rely on my relationships a lot. I think that if I can do a great job of cultivating and taking care of my relationships, that it'll feed me the business that I want or need. The reality is, I would like more business than my relationships will typically feed me. If I do a great job taking care of my sphere of influence, about 20% of those relationships will turn into business on a yearly basis. So I know I'm pretty close with 150 or so people each year, or 150 or so people in general. I know more people than that, but I'm pretty close and do a decent job of taking care of 150 relationships. It should be more. And the reality is, sometimes I drop the ball and I don't take care of the relationships. So if I was doing a great job with those relationships, I could get maybe 30 deals, not listings, but deals in general out of those 150 relationships. So I think it's about 20% if you're doing a solid job. If you're not getting 10%, use or referral ratio out of your relationships, then you probably need to focus on your relationships a little bit more. So 10% is sort of that minimum that I look for out of my relationships. And what I mean by that is it's not 10% of 100 people that are going to use you. What it is 2 or 3% are going to use you and refer you. And so that 2 or 3% are responsible for multiple transactions a year a lot of times. But I want 20% of my relationships to have used or referred me on a yearly basis if I'm doing a good job. So a lot of times what stands in our way of getting more listing business specifically is we just don't have enough relationships for it. That's a potential problem. And I'm a big advocate. Here we are on probate mastery. This is about working in the estate and the probate niche. I'm also a huge advocate on you need to be out cultivating and nurturing your organic relationships and your past clients. I don't care if they come through estates and probate or come from a 55 plus community or not. I don't care about that. You need to be cultivating your relationships. Um, in a way that most of us agents are not. So we should rely on our relationships, but that's not all. So a lot of agents are too reliant on their relationships. Um, and then what ends up happening is a lot of agents were just commoditized. Okay, this is, in my opinion, the biggest problem that we face when we're trying to grow our business, specifically as listing agents, is we end up being a commodity. So why are we a commodity? What makes us a commodity? Guys have any ideas on this?
Doing the
What?
same thing that everybody else is doing makes you a commodity.
Yeah, right. And if you're doing the same thing, what are you going to be susceptible to?
Commission challenges.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Commission challenges, not only commission challenges, but who does the consumer have a better relationship with? Okay. How many of you guys have heard you've found out from an acquaintance or a lead that they listed with someone else that was also a friend? Okay. Have you guys ever had that happen? I've definitely had it happen. We were really close friends with a couple about 2 years ago, and I believe that the majority of my relationships are where they need to be. And this couple, they were close friends of ours, and we were talking to them about listing their house and helping them buy. This was going to be about a $2 million gross volume between two transactions, a listing and a buy. Our average commissions are about 2.8%, I'd say, by the time you factor in a listing commission and then a buyer commission. So 2.8%. This was going to be about a $56,000 payday between two transactions that were going to happen pretty quickly. And they fell apart because they had another friend that had done a better job of building a relationship. And I wouldn't have never thought that, but somebody else just out friended me. Okay. Or out credibilityed me, one of the two. Okay. And I want you guys to recognize that when you're a commodity, you're competing against someone that will either do it cheaper or is a better friend, okay, or viewed as more credible. And we need to get rid of that. So this is a problem that we face as listing agents, specifically when it comes to building our business. So I want to talk to you guys about how to fix that problem. And we're going to get into unique selling propositions as we do this. So the first way to fix our problem to list more properties and get more is to know more people. You could obviously go out and introduce yourself to more people and get to know them. I am definitely an advocate of this. I think that we need to grow our social sphere of influence and get to know them more and become more credible with them. We could also fix that problem by getting future commitments. Does anyone here in your communication, either with leads, with prospects, with a sphere of influence, with anyone, does anyone here ever end your conversation by getting a future commitment from the person that you're talking to? TJ, what's that look like?
Well, it depends on where I am in the conversation. Minimally, it's um, a date to follow up. I try to provide value and then say, hey, can I reach out to you and answer any questions that you have about the insert lead magnet that I've provided.
Yep.
Or it's if somebody said, yeah, of course, a listing appointment, you get a date and a time. And I just try to, it's either a phone call or an appointment is what I really go for. Just something where they've agreed that they're gonna speak to me again in the future.
Absolutely. I'm a big believer in this, guys. Getting some sort of a future commitment from people. And sometimes it's legitimately an appointment. It's, hey, we're gonna come into town and sell that. We're gonna come into town and interview agents in 2 weeks. You can meet us on Saturday. And that's cool. And some other times it's we're not ready for that, but follow up with this next month on Saturday the 28th, something along those lines. Now, I have a really close friend of mine who was a college roommate of mine years ago, and the guy is living in Texas, and I never would have pegged him as a real estate agent. He got into real estate several years after me, and this guy just slowly but surely outperforms 99% of agents that are out there. And I was talking to him one day and asking him how he did it, and he just said, "Hey, look, I'm a big believer in the Brian Buffini process: calls, notes, and pop buys." Okay, I believe in that process as well. Okay. But he is like living proof that that sort of thing works. So he takes people out to coffees and he builds relationships. And he said, Bruce, my secret when I'm talking to someone is I get them to commit that if they ever did anything with real estate, they'd at least give me a chance. Okay. And that's a little bit more pushy than I usually do, but he gets them to commit that if they ever do anything with real estate, that at minimum, they'll give him a chance. And a lot of people will honor that commitment. Sometimes they'll call and say, hey, I'm selling my house. My neighbor gave me a price, but I told you that I would at least give you a chance. And he's worked his way in on appointments many times because he gets people to commit that they'll give him a chance. So we're all here in the capacity of estate specialists and probate specialists. If we are cold prospecting, one of the things that I like to do is I like to get my prospect to commit to see my offer. Okay. Now, I think that everyone here is an agent, or at least, like in Sheila's case, working for an agent. Okay. Um, and a lot of people get a little squeamish, especially real estate agents get a little squeamish when I say I get people to commit to see my offer. Okay. The reality is I don't have to actually make a cash offer where I'm the buyer. I just need them to commit to see what my offer is. And my offer could be a cash offer. It could be an offer to get them a cash investor. It could be my offer to list the house. I have a lot of different offers, but I like when I'm prospecting, especially if someone's not ready yet, like the case that TJ described with a follow up. If they're not ready yet, rather than say, I want you to call me if you're ready, or I want to be able to follow up with you in 2 months, that sort of thing. I like to get their commitment that they'll at least see my price if they're ready. And the way that typically looks for me is, hey, listen, TJ, I know you guys aren't sure what you're going to do yet. If the time ever does come where you decide to sell, do you think I could at least give you a price? So I want to get their verbal commitment, even if they're not everybody honors it, but I at least want to get that little teeny tiny bit of a verbal commitment from them that they'll at least see my price if they sell. So this is a way to fix the problem that we're facing, especially when it comes to us being commoditized. It doesn't mean that they're going to do business with it, but it does mean that they're at least going to hear us out, we hope. Okay. And then it's our job to stay in communication and potentially remind them. So I like to get people who are thinking about selling, I like to get their commitment that they'll at least get my price, or they'll at least let me make an offer, that kind of thing. All right. Next thing that I like to do once I've communicated with someone is I like to create a little bit of a casual following. Okay, what is a casual following? A casual following are those people that at least start to see you. They start to recognize your name. They start to remember maybe that commitment that they gave you. I learned this several years ago when I was working buyer leads, and we're not here to talk about buyer leads. We're here to talk about listings. But I learned this principle with buyer leads. Okay. I would go out and I'd spend, let's say, $6 to $8 per lead on Google pay-per-click leads that would come in and they'd land on my traditional real estate website looking for properties, and they'd register. And once they registered, then I'd put them in a drip campaign. Of course, I'd try to call them and convert them into a client, but that's, if I do a good job, I might get 2% of those. For those that don't answer, I need to stay in front of them. So I would put them into a drip campaign, and it was amazing what I learned. It took me years to learn this, but I used to set someone up. Let's say they were looking in Cary, North Carolina, and I'd set them up, and it would say, updated property listings in Cary, North Carolina, and I'd send it out. And I'll never forget, I had a girl in my system for years, probably 2.5 years. And every day or every couple of days, I would have properties that would match the criteria that she'd originally looked for on my site. And every couple of days, if not every day, she would get an email that said, new property alert, new property that matches your criteria in Cary, North Carolina. And she'd open that email up and she'd look at those properties. And I tried her a bunch of times over the next couple of years. And one day I called her and she answered the phone. And I said, hey, I can't remember her name. And I said, my name's Bruce Hill. And she said, who? And I said, yeah, Bruce Hill. Who are you with? Said, I'm the agent that was sending you properties. I don't know what you're talking about. And she hung up on me. And it was, I don't know what you're talking about. And I was like, how do you not know this? I've been sending you property alerts for years and you open them all. You click on every single property that I send you and you don't know who I am. I can't believe it. Okay. So that day I went into my system and I made a little tiny change that said new property in Cary, North Carolina, hyphen from Bruce Hill. And I changed it on all of my property alerts that went out from that day forward. And from that point forward, I would call people even that had never engaged with me, and I'd say, "Hey, my name's Bruce Hill," and instead of who, I would get, "Oh, hey, Bruce," even from people that had never opened my emails. They were getting alerts and they were ignoring them. But guess what? They repetitively saw my name. Repetitively. Some of them would follow me on social media. Some of them would watch YouTube. Some of them would check blogs out. But I was building that way this casual following of people that I was not connected with. And I was building credibility with those folks simply by changing the title in the email subject line that I was sending out. So I want you guys to recognize that one way to fix the problem of us being a commodity in our community is to put our name in front of people that otherwise maybe we don't even know if they're engaging with us. One of the changes I made in Probate Mastery 6 months ago was I changed how you guys see the updates and the alerts that come through from us. It used to say Probate Mastery. Now it says Bruce at Probate Mastery. Why? I want you all to recognize my name. And that's kind of the objective there with that is to get some recognition. So you can do the same thing with your audience as you start building your listing presentation and your listing USP. Next is we want to stay top of mind. So we need to stay top of mind with folks. We need to put content in front of them. We need to put alerts in front of them. Once we get someone that maybe is not a friend, we don't have a personal relationship, we just need to make sure that we have enough in front of them to stay top of mind because we are competing with a sea of other real estate agents and in the probate space, a sea of other investors. And I'm not here to overstate it and make you guys worried that there's too much competition in the probate and the estate niche. There's not. But we're joking ourselves if we think that there's no competition. There's absolutely some competition in that space. So what I need to do is make sure that I'm the person that they think of first. I might not be the only person that gets the appointment, but I'm the person that they at least think of first. So I go in with an automatic level of credibility that's at a higher level than my competition. And then the last thing, and what we're going to spend the rest of our time on today, is creating an irresistible offer. Creating an irresistible offer. So these other 4 points that I made here, these are absolutely things that you need to think about as you build relationships, as you prospect, as you market. You need to think about, how do I get to know more people? How do I gain future commitments with those that aren't ready yet? How do I create a casual following of people that know who I am and that I'm top of mind with? Okay. Those are hyper important. But if we really, really want to differentiate ourselves, we create an irresistible offer. Okay. And we will talk a little bit more about that in just a second. How many of you are getting future commitments from people? You have a conversation with a prospect and they say, hey, we're not really sure yet. Sheila, how do you go about getting that future commitment? I know I'm going backwards here. You are on mute. There you go.
I was trying to unmute. I just basically, most people are saying they're not ready yet, especially expireds. Oh, I want to wait till after the election. I want to wait till after the election. And I just casually say, well, if I call you back in November, will you be open to talking about it then?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and yes, they will. With probate, It's more like, is it okay if I send you out my information and maybe follow up with you in 30, 45 days?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because at that point, they're probably more ready to do something.
Yep. Good. So you're kind of going the route that TJ was going. Okay. Is anyone else here getting future commitments from people to say, if I sell, you can give me a price? Has anyone else experimented with that?
No.
And I shouldn't say experimented. This is not an experiment. I've been doing this for probably 6 months, maybe even less. This works. Okay, this works brilliantly when you're prospecting and maybe you don't have a relationship, or maybe you do have a relationship. How often do we have someone in our sphere of influence, a friend that says, "Hey, I might sell in a year." Okay, we could get a commitment that they'll at least see our price, or they'll call us to come interview for the job or something like that. So I've actually been getting people to commit to seeing my price, especially if I don't know them. So rather than, hey, can I follow up with you in 2 months? If I follow up with you, will you be available? Yeah, I'll be available. How often do they not answer? Right? They hang up and maybe block you, something like that. So I've stopped asking for follow up times and I've started saying, listen, I know you're not ready yet. If you guys get ready in the next couple of months, do you think maybe I could make you an offer? I never get a no to that question. I never get a no. Okay. Another future commitment that I use. Does anyone know Ricky Carruth by any chance? Has anyone followed or watched anything from Ricky Carruth? I got this
Yes.
from Ricky. Ricky, he gets people all the time because he's a big circle prospector. No, we're good. We just bought this house 2 years ago, not planning on moving. He goes, oh, perfect. You're going to stay for a while. Hey, listen, I never know if I don't ask. If anything were to change for you in 5 or 10 years, is there an agent that you'd use? And if they say no or we don't know, he goes, I'd love to send you some information about what I do, maybe periodically keep you up to date on the market. Would that be okay? Yes, he gets a commitment. What's a good email? So there's lots of ways that we can get people to commit to doing something with us if they're not ready yet. So I am all about getting that future commitment from the person that is not ready yet. But the bottom line is I just want to create at the end of the day, I work through this process, but at the end of the day, I want to create an offer that they can't say no to. Okay. Now they can say no to it after the appointment, but at least they have to say yes to an appointment, or they have to say, I want to see more with an irresistible offer. So that's where we're going to get into our unique selling proposition. All right. I put several people on the spot earlier. This is highly important. Mike, I don't know if you are available to unmute yourself or not. Have you worked any more? If you are, have you worked any more on your unique selling proposition? Mike,
I haven't done a whole lot, and I'm multitasking. I have to confess, so
got it. No worries.
I'm it's not the best time for me. But I will say I am working on the as low as 0% commission. So that's
Mhm.
been something that I've had one success with so far.
Perfect. Okay. Awesome. That's the biggest thing that I wanted to know, because I know Mike and I kind of started a couple of weeks ago working a little bit and having some conversations about a unique selling proposition. So let's talk about what your unique selling proposition is not first. Okay. So number one, I don't know what order this is going to go in. So number one, your unique selling proposition is not a generic claim. Okay. This is probably the biggest mistake that I see agents make all the time. You want to use me because I've been in real estate for the longest. You want to use me because nobody pays more attention to their clients than I do. You want to use me because I provide exceptional service. These are just generic claims, and they really don't have a whole lot of teeth. And I want you to recognize that when you hear those or say those, other people are probably saying the same thing. Okay. It kind of goes in one ear and out the other. Has anyone ever heard me or anyone else talk about the difference between sticky marketing and slippery marketing? Is that familiar to you guys? And if it's not, um, open up, unmute yourself, and tell me what you think I'm referring to between sticky marketing and slippery marketing.
I think I've heard of sticky marketing.
Yep.
It's the marketing that keeps you top of mind, like a really good hook or slogan
Mm-hmm.
or your logo. Um,
Yep.
Something again that keeps you top of mind.
It keeps you top of mind. It keeps you memorable. Now, I would throw slogans and logos out. Okay. But you're absolutely correct with what it is. It keeps you top of mind. Slogans and logos are slippery. Somebody hears them or sees them, and then it's out of their mind really quickly. How many of you have heard this before? Maybe from a coach or a trainer or one of your peers, or maybe you've even used this before. Hey, don't forget, I'm never too busy for your referrals. Anyone use or at least see that before? Okay. So just imagine you're a consumer and you know 10 agents, and 10 agents say at the end of every marketing piece, don't forget, I'm never too busy for your referrals. Are you going to remember that? Are you going to remember who said it? Probably not. It sounds nice, but it's slippery. It just doesn't stay. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to start evaluating the things that we're saying and the things that we're putting into marketing and looking at them and saying, is this too generic to stick? Or is this something that might actually stick and create some curiosity? Next thing that our USP is not is a false claim. A false claim. I've heard primarily from politicians claims all the time that have absolutely no chance of ever going through, even if the politician wanted it to. Okay. I think agents do this too. How many times have we lost out to an agent or one business because we claim we can get a price that somebody else can't get? Okay, so a false claim. We want to make sure that in our unique selling proposition, we're not just offering the world without a plan to fulfill. Another thing that it's not a slogan. So I hear this a lot. I hear slogans a lot when I ask people what their unique selling proposition is, and they'll say something like, "I'll treat you with honesty and integrity." That's a slogan, okay? And I love slogans. You need a slogan. You can put it on all your marketing and it looks good, but it's not memorable and it doesn't really get you business. It does help with your overall branding, but it's not going to get you business. Your warm personality is not going to win you business if you're dealing with people that don't already know you. Okay, if you've started to form a relationship, your personality might win business. But if somebody's getting down to brass tacks and they want to know why they need to list with you, and maybe you don't know them, your warm personality, you can't rely on it exclusively to get you the business, or your low commission. Okay. Um, I almost didn't put low commission on here because the reality is low commission can get you business, right? Have you guys ever lost business to someone that just had a lower commission? So sometimes that happens. I think that your low commission is not the thing that's going to get you the business. This is not your unique selling proposition. I want you to use me because I charge the least. Okay, so let's talk about what your USP is. Your unique selling proposition needs to be sizzle and not the recipe. So unique selling proposition needs to be sizzle. I have a client of mine that I work with all the time, and this client is a novation expert. And so for those that don't know, a novation is essentially where you contract on a house. You make repairs to that property. So you are contracted as a purchaser. You make repairs, and then you put the property on the open market and sell for a higher price before you've closed. So you're not traditionally a wholesaler. You're actually listing the property at a higher price because of improvements that you're making. And then you'll typically share a piece of the gain with the seller. Okay, so that's the basics of innovation. So this client all the time calls and prospects and says, "Hey, I want to talk to you about your house. Nobody's going to get you more money than I am. Actually, what I do is I contract on your house with you at a base price, and then I make repairs to your property and I put it on the market and I sell it for a higher profit than you could get on your own, and I'm going to share a percentage of the profit with you. And the person goes, "What's your name? Why are you even calling me? I didn't know you." And that's an example of someone that just automatically launches into selling the recipe. Prospects, especially those that don't know you, that you're prospecting to or marketing, they don't need to know how the sauce is made. They just need to know that it tastes good, basically. And this is what we call selling the sizzle, not the steak. Years ago, I worked at Applebee's through college. I think at 18 years old, I started working at Applebee's. To this day, not just because I think their business model is going under, but to this day, I won't go to Applebee's because I worked there for 5 years. Okay. I advise most people not to go in, but I worked there for 5 years. And do you guys remember the skillets that they had that were on their menu? And you'd be sitting at the table and you hadn't ordered, and someone would walk behind you with that skillet and you'd hear the sizzling. Okay. And you'd turn around and you'd be like, wow, I want that. It smells good. It sounds great. That's what I want. And it would draw you to ask about it. You couldn't help but ask about it. And you'd say, what was that? And the server would say, oh, yeah, that's our steak sizzler, our steak skillet. And you'd go, oh, man, I think I want that. And it would create a lot of orders. And what the server was not supposed to do was tell you how they made the garlic mashed potatoes and what seasoning they put on the green beans and how they made the butter. You know, we milk the cow and we churn the butter and then we put it and then we salt it. And that's not what they do. They're not going into the entire recipe of how everything is made. They're just selling off of the sizzle. So a lot of times we spend way too much time, especially before an appointment, telling someone exactly how we do something. When the reality is we don't need to tell them how. We just need to show them the sizzle. I'm going to make you more money. I make 2 to 4% more for your property than anyone else can get you. Hey, I can get your house sold in 7 days where everybody else averages 29 days, that kind of thing. So we kind of sell a sizzle and not the recipe. We could guarantee a result. So I am a big fan when I'm creating a unique selling proposition on guaranteeing results. Guaranteeing results. And we'll get into this with some examples here in a few minutes. Guaranteeing results make a lot of agents very, very nervous. Okay. Not me. This is my differentiator, and I'll show you how in a bit. I want you to have a differentiator. This was obviously up. My automations weren't working. So in your unique selling proposition, you need to focus on what you get for them versus what anyone else gets for them. And then the other thing that your unique selling proposition is, and we've hit this multiple times, it's an irresistible offer. So I get irresistible offer from, let's see, Alex Hermosi is someone that talks a lot about irresistible offers. If you guys have followed Alex Hermosi at all, he talks a lot about this. There's a bunch of marketers that talk about putting some sort of irresistible offer in front of a consumer to get the appointment or to get the business. Alex Hermosi calls it an offer so good, people feel stupid saying no. An offer so good, people feel stupid saying no. So if I'm an heir to an estate and I've got a house worth on the market $400,000, what's an offer so good that I would feel stupid saying no? And I want you guys to just kind of think about that and throw some ideas out to me. I'm an heir to an estate. I've got a house worth $400,000 and it's full of junk. Give me an offer so good that I would feel stupid saying no. I'm an heir to an estate. I live out of town. I'm going to add to it. I live out of town. It takes me an hour to get to the property. It's in the middle of the summer, and I got to go cut the grass every week. What's an offer so good that I would feel stupid saying no?
Our company will clean the house out, get a dumpster, take care of all that stuff, put all the important papers, put all the paperwork that you need to look at, aside. And I forgot what I was going to say now.
Hmm. You're good.
And
You're on the right
there's
path
something
here.
else. Yeah.
Okay.
And
Aside from,
we'll provide maintenance, cut the grass, make sure that somebody's there, comes around weekly or whatever,
mhm.
and we'll rekey the property if you would like us to do. We'll do everything that for you um, to make sure that the property is safe and that it's well maintained. And we'll actually look through the property and let you know what it might need for repairs.
Okay. And at the end of the day, what am I really getting out of that offer?
Peace of mind. I
Peace of
mean, you don't
mind.
have to drive here and do and
Mhm.
look. We'll be your person that's out of town. We'll look
How
out for
much is
your
that going to
interest.
cost me?
Well, see, that's where I get hung up. Should I do it should I say, well, you can pay me at closing, or should I
Okay.
make it part of my service and
Sure.
then charge them a commission,
So this is good.
resulting?
This is good. And this is where I'm going to start breaking apart what Deborah has just laid out. Okay. This is where most of us, and the reason that most of us don't have an irresistible offer is because we don't know how much to charge. Maybe we don't know how to present it. We don't know how to summarize it. So here's what I want to do. Rather than create this recipe that Deborah has created. Okay, Deborah, you created a really nice recipe for me down here. I want to look at the recipe, but then think, okay, how can I sell that as sizzle? And what I do is I start by coming up with something outlandish. And then I go work it backwards and say, if I were to offer this, could I make it true? And the answer might be no, by the way. If the answer ends up being no, that's not my offer. Okay. But I start with the outlandish claim and then I work it backwards and say, okay, if I was going to do that for them, how would I do it? So I don't tell them how I do it. If as long as I can make it work, I'm just going to make the claim. All right. So an example here would be you got a house worth $400,000. You live an hour away. You have to drive up here every weekend, clean the house out, go through probate, cut the grass. House is empty. You're probably going to have to sell it. What if I could get you 425,000 and you don't have to make one single trip up to the property?
Wow.
Okay. Is that an offer so good that they would feel kind of stupid saying no? Okay. Now, this is hypothetical. It's totally hypothetical. I don't know if I can do that yet. What I've done now is I've come up with the offer first. I don't just spit it out when I'm in an appointment. I want to come up with what's the type of offer that I would present someone in a situation like that. And then I start working it backwards. Okay, if I were going to do that, what would I need to do? I would need to be able to get a dumpster. I would need to be able to cover the clean out. I would need to have a landscaper that cuts the grass for the next couple of months. I would need to do these things. How would I get someone more money than the house is actually worth? Could I do that? Maybe I could do that with owner financing. Maybe I could do that. I mean, I'm kind of essentially coming up with this end um, result that they're going to get first. And then I start working it backwards and say, if this was going to be done, how could it be done? So rather than start looking at all the services in the recipe first, let's think about what we want the end product to look like. Lay out 5 or 6 possible end products on a piece of paper, and then say, if I was going to do these 5 or 6 things, how would it be done? And sometimes you can never find the end of the maze. Okay. Sometimes you can't trace it back. Sometimes it can't be done. And you throw that end product out. Okay. But I want you to start looking with your irresistible offer. I want you to start looking at your end irresistible product, that result that they're going to get first. And then ask yourself, if I was going to do this, what would I have to do? And if it can't be done, you throw it out and then you go to work on the other end result. Okay. Rather than start looking at all the recipe, let's come up with the end result first and then go to work on figuring out if we can put a recipe to deliver that end result. Does that make sense? Okay. So the end result in that case is, hey, I'll get you more than market value. You don't have to lift a finger. I'll have it all wrapped up for you within a month. Okay. Can I do that? Now, the reality is I probably can't do that. Let's just get real. The reality is I probably wouldn't be able to do exactly that on that house. But if I did, what would it look like? And I start working it backward. And I guarantee if you can start focusing on end results, you'll be able to find a way to match your service to the end result on multiple end results. I'm going to skip this slide and come back to it here in a minute. I'm going to instead talk to you guys about a couple of examples that I've used with success. So these are examples of unique selling propositions that I have used over the years. So number one is a guaranteed sale. Guaranteed sale. Has anyone ever used a guaranteed sale before? Okay. I don't use this particular unique selling proposition in my market today, mainly because it doesn't match my market. But for years, I ran your home sold in 59 days guaranteed, or I'll buy the property. I think we've all seen that. That was an old Craig Proctor um, unique selling proposition. So I didn't invent it. I was just one of the only agents in my market to, I'm going to say, have the guts to make that claim. Everybody else would go, oh man, I can't make that claim. Okay. If you're one of the agents that says, hey, I couldn't make that claim, I'll sell your house in 59 days. If I can't sell it, I'll buy it. How many of you would raise your hand and say, hey, I can't make that claim? Just gut reaction. TJ, Monique, anybody, Deborah, Sheila. Okay. I can't make that claim. So tell me why can you not make that claim? And I want you to keep in mind, this is not my current claim. I'm not doing it right now either. But why would you not be able to make that?
Well,
Go ahead, TJ.
The only thing I was going to say is that like if we've, and I might be overthinking it, but if we've agreed at a listing price, I mean, I could probably find some private money or something to buy the home, but it's not going to be at the list price that we talked about.
Sure.
So that would be, I could guarantee a cash offer. I've done that. I've guaranteed in the past, it's worked for me, not really in this market with such low inventory, but I guarantee an offer. I guaranteed multiple offers within the first week.
Yep.
And then what I do is just go to investors and just have them like, want to make an offer on this house, and then
great. Yeah. Okay.
So something like that. But as far as like me personally buying the home, that's not something I'm comfortable doing.
Yeah. Okay. So Monique, what were you going to say? Why would you look at a claim like that and say, I don't know if I can make that claim?
Well, for me, the reason, because I've always seen this being advertised, but I just never felt comfortable giving that guarantee. If I didn't feel like I was confident enough to be able to perform.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
So.
Okay. All right. And I'm going to be really clear again. I know I've said this 2 or 3 times. This is not my USP. I don't run this in this market. I have better claims than this. Okay. This is not what I'm running, but I kind of want to break some of those limiting beliefs down with this example here. Anyone else that would hear that? I'll sell your home in 59 days, guaranteed. If not, I'll buy it. Does anyone else hear that and go, I don't think I could do that? Is there anyone else that says, I don't think I could do that, that's willing to say why you don't think you could do it?
I can't because I need to get more familiar with the buy box for the cash buyers that are part of my brokerage. and I don't have enough investor partners
Yep.
identified.
There you go. Okay. So Glenda is a great example here. Glenda's saying, I don't currently have enough cash buyers in my market. Okay. So what I'm going to challenge you on when you come up with USP, instead of saying, I can't make that claim, I want you to say, if I was going to make that claim, what would I need to do? And if it's simply a matter of not having enough cash buyers in your market, go get some cash buyers. Okay. Instead of saying, I can't do that, you say, I can't do that given this situation. And this situation over here is totally fixable. So we were encouraged to do this when we started running radio ads. And my business partner and I did not have a treasure trove of cash sitting around. Radio was costing us $7,000 or $8,000 a month when we started out, and this was the claim that we were highly encouraged to run. So we went and found a couple of cash investors that were willing to back our claim. Okay. And those cash investors were not willing to back our claim at 100% of what everybody thought market value was. So we had to put some terms and conditions around this. We had to say, hey, you need to agree to list at our price. You need to agree to do these 2 or 3 price reductions over the next 59 days if we have not gotten your house sold. You need to agree to not decline showings. Okay. Anytime you're doing some sort of a guaranteed sale, they have to allow showings. If they decline them, the guarantee's off. Okay. So they have to allow showings. You need to agree that if we get you a certain price within a certain percentage of our list price, that you'll take it, or at least agree that we have fulfilled our guarantee. Okay. So those are just some terms that we would put around our irresistible offer. And that allowed us to make an irresistible offer. So our terms were, we'll buy the house at 85% of market value, no commissions. Okay. Our investor was just going to put the house back on the market, and he was going to pay us our commission. So the seller, we'd tell them, we're guaranteeing 85% of what we agree up front that market value is. If we have not sold it within 2 weeks, we need to drop the price to this. If we haven't sold it in a month, this. If we haven't sold it in 45 days, drop the price to this. We'll get you over X amount. And if we haven't, and that 59th day rolls around, our contract for 85% of our start price kicks in. And the sellers, very frequently, when we would go to the house, they'd say, I can't accept that. And I'd say, not a problem. Why don't we just do a traditional listing, no guarantee? And they'd go, that works for me. My argument here is, what got me the appointment?
Guarantee.
The guarantee got me the appointment. Okay. And nobody ever got super furious with our terms and conditions, because we wouldn't force them to take those terms and conditions. We would say, here's your options. We can do a traditional listing, or we can do a guaranteed sale. By the way, our guaranteed sale, we started listing at 10%. All right. We ended up listing at 8% by the time I was gone. So if somebody took the guaranteed sale terms, commission was 8%. Okay. If they didn't, it was 6%. So people would go, hey, I don't want to pay 8%. And I'd say, look, I'll do everything for you that I just claimed over here. I'll just do it without the guarantee if you want the lower percentage. And they'd say, oh, great. And we'd get a ton of listings that way, a ton. But the guarantee got us in the door. So what I'm encouraging you to do is come up with a system that gets you in the door, that's not too bait and switchy. I don't want a big bait and switch. Other people that do a guaranteed sale, they try to buy the house at 60 cents on the dollar. That was a little too much of a bait and switch for me. Okay, I think 85% is more believable. Now, after I moved to Raleigh, I started doing a guaranteed sale where I would guarantee to sell your house in 29 days at least 95% of what we think market value is. And if I don't, I'll waive my profit from the deal. So that's what I started doing when I moved to Raleigh. I'll get you within 95% of what we think market value is within 29 days. And if I don't get you 95% within 29 days, my portion of the commission, my profit goes away. I'll list your house at 8%. This is how I did it. I'll list your house at 8%. And they'd go, I don't want to pay 8%. And I'd say, I'll do everything for you minus the guarantee, and I'll do it at 6% if that makes you more comfortable. And they'd 99% of the time say, yeah, that's more comfortable. I took tons of listings with people that just didn't want the higher commission. So that extra 2% for me was my insurance. The people that took it, I've waived my commission on numerous transactions before. I've guaranteed a 95% of sale price before on numerous transactions, and I've not fulfilled my guarantee. And I waive my commission. So that extra couple of percent, 1-2%, that was just my insurance in case I had to eat the commission somewhere. Okay, so these are examples of claims and offers that are almost irresistible. You could make a claim or an offer on a compensation structure. I'll come back to this one in a minute because I'm actually going to present one specific idea to you guys in a few minutes. Okay. You could also guarantee a net benefit or a cost savings. So one of the claims that I used to run in the probate space is that I would, if you work with me, I'll cover your estate settlement cost. I'll cover your estate settlement expenses. How would you like to not spend any money to settle the estate or go through probate? Yeah, I'd like that. So if you guys were going to cover someone's probate or estate expenses, what would that look like? Let's just use that one as an example. By the way, before we talk about what it would look like, pretend you're going through probate and somebody says, hey, I'll cover your expenses for you. Okay. And let's assume that it's believable for a second. We've got to get past the believability portion. I need to recognize that sometimes we can make a claim that's too good to be true. But let's just pretend for a minute that it's believable. Is that an offer that you can't say no to? You're going through probate. I'll cover all your probate expenses. Can you say no to that? Who could say no to that? Anyone? So I would argue that you can't. And I've used this before. This is a USP that I used and I got business from in the probate space. Okay. Now, if you were going to make it true, how would you do that? You were going to make it true. How would you be able to afford to cover someone's probate expenses?
You would have to know what the expenses are beforehand.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. What's another big condition to being able to cover their expenses?
You have to have the sale done, so you cover it at closing, I would think.
Yeah. You gotta have the deal.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have to have the deal. Again, guys, I'm not starting with the recipe. I'm not starting going, hey, I've got all these ingredients laying in front of me. I'm starting saying, hey, I want to make this dish. If I'm going to make this dish, can I make it with these ingredients? So I start with the dish in mind. Okay. The end product in mind, that thing that's hard to say no to. And then I work it backward to see if I can. So my way of doing this, just a few of my ingredients in this are, I got to buy the house. Okay. I've got to buy the house. Now I'm a listing agent. I couldn't afford to do this as a listing agent because probate expenses can be kind of big. So I can't really afford to do that if I'm only making $10,000 in commission on a listing. I can afford to do that if I'm flipping a house for $50,000 though. Right? So for me, I said, hey, I'll cover your probate expenses. Work with me, I'll cover your probate expenses. I go in, we evaluate the house. I say, here are the terms and conditions for me covering probate expenses. We can list the house. I can't cover probate expenses there because there's really no money to be able to do it. I can if I'm buying the house. Okay. Do you want to list or do you want me to buy the house? Now, still, even when I was doing that, the overwhelming majority of people would say, I think we'd rather list. It's a higher net to us. I got the appointment. I got the listing. So we use our irresistible offer to get in the door, and then we give options to people and we let them choose. Okay. And I'm not going over all of my terms and conditions here, guys. I'm gonna let your imaginations kind of run on this. I also don't want to have 1,000 people out there making the exact same claim with the exact same terms and conditions. So I'm leaving things out here. I'm mainly talking to you about how you start to think about your big claim. Okay. Now I'm gonna come back to this compensation structure claim here in a minute because I want to show you exactly how I do this. This is my current USP, and I want to show you how you guys can use this USP. Mike is using it, so that's what Mike teased a little bit ago. First, I want to talk to you about how to promote your unique selling proposition, and then we're going to come back to the compensation claim. So number one, in promoting your unique selling proposition, you have to understand what your competitors are doing and do something different. Make a claim or an offer that's different from what they're able to offer. So you've got to understand your competition and be different. The vast majority of your competition, they're just offering slogans and saying things like use me because I'm experienced, use me because I care, use me because I have a great personality, use me because I'm a listing agent. I mean, there's nothing too special about most of your competition, but I do want you to watch and see what your competition might be claiming and try to be different if you can. You don't have to be the only person that makes a claim in your market. You just need to be the only person that your consumer knows about making that claim. There are other people in my market that make a guaranteed sale claim. Most people that I talk to have never heard of them. So I just need to be one of the 4 or 5 people as long as the appointments that I have aren't making the competition isn't making the same claim. Next is you need to focus on results. So when you make the claim, you focus on the result. Don't worry about showing all the terms and conditions. Okay, you need to focus on the result. Make the outcome irresistible. So we keep on saying that over and over and over again. Make the outcome irresistible. Okay. Next is we need to offer to demonstrate it. This is where politicians fail. Okay. This is where the overwhelming majority of politicians fail. And I'm going to give you guys an example here. This example is getting much more triggering and dangerous for me to use it as an example. Okay, so I want everyone here to just agree to take their political hats off. I'm going to use a politician as an example, and a politician that is highly polarizing. If you love this person, don't jump up and down and wave your hands. If you hate this person, don't cut your cameras off and start booing, okay? Strictly an example. That's my precursor here. Back in 2016, Donald Trump ran on the unique selling proposition. We're going to build a wall. And what? We're going to build a wall. And what was the other part of it?
And make Mexico pay for it.
And make Mexico pay for it. Okay. Crazy unique selling proposition. I would argue as a marketer, I would argue crazy good unique selling proposition. No, I'm not taking a stance on Donald Trump as a politician here. I would argue crazy good unique selling proposition. There was a problem with it though. And the problem with it was there was no offer to demonstrate. It was just a claim. So I've been talking to you guys about making irresistible offers and irresistible claims, but there was no offer to demonstrate with that. And this is where a lot of people that have really good claims fail and where they don't get business. So I've talked to you a whole lot about that claim. Okay. If I were to be a politician and I was going to say, hey, we're going to build a wall and Mexico is going to pay for it. Internally, don't raise your hand. How many of you say BS? Don't raise your hand. Okay. How many say BS? Okay. Now, if I followed it up with, hey, we're going to build a wall and we're going to make Mexico pay for it. If you want to see how, go visit this website. How many of you would now, and this is where you can raise your hand, how many of you would go visit the website? Okay. Now, I think that that was the fundamental flaw with that unique selling proposition, is there was not a clear offer to demonstrate a plan for it. To me, it was just a claim. If I were to show up here on this room and say to you guys, hey, if you hire me as your real estate coach, I'll make you $10 million this year. And this, you guys can raise your hand. You hire me as your real estate coach, I'll make you $10 million this year. How many of you say BS? That can't be done. How many of you would say that? You can't make me 10 million this year. I hope everyone would say that. Now, if I said, hey, if you hire me as your real estate coach, I'll make you 10 million this year. If you want to see how, go visit this website. Now, how many of you would go visit the website? Probably would, because I've offered to demonstrate. So if you're going to make a big claim, I want you guys, this is the reason that I don't want you worried about making a claim that's too good. Okay. Because you're going to follow it up with an offer to demonstrate. And you have to follow it up with an offer to demonstrate. It could be book a discovery call with me, call me at this number, go visit this website. I have a video explaining it. I don't care how you offer to demonstrate it. You just have to make the claim and then show them how to see your plan. And this is in your plan, you're going to show a little bit of the recipe here. So the claim is going to get the initial action from the prospect, and then you're going to offer to demonstrate. Okay. And then last piece is you're going to substantiate with easy to understand terms. If you have 432 terms and conditions tied to your claim, it's too much. People are going to lose faith in you. So what I would do when I was coming up with my unique selling propositions is I'd try to keep the terms and conditions to that unique selling proposition. I'd try to keep them under 7 terms and conditions, under 7. So when I was doing 29 days, 29 days, I'll sell your home in 29 days, or I'll sell your home for free. If you want to know more, go watch this video, go to this website, book a call with me here. And then they'd say, how do you do that? I'd say it's really easy. So you and I together, we come up with your most accurate real market price. Okay. I'll guarantee that price, or I'll guarantee within, I would normally say within 5% of that price. I'll guarantee within 5% of that price. Depending on what the market was doing, I would guarantee within 2% of that price. Okay. Sometimes I would even guarantee that price, depending on what the market was doing. 2.5 years ago, I would guarantee that price. Okay. As the market softens, it would be a little bit less. And then I'd say, here are the terms. I list at, say, 7%. I normally list at 6%. I list at 7% because that's my safety net. Okay. You can't turn down showings. You have to make your bed and keep the house tidy. You need to put a home warranty on the property. Okay. And if we haven't gotten a buyer by the 21st day, I need you to agree to drop the price by 1% or 2%. Okay. Those would be examples of some terms and conditions that I would put into place. Those are all pretty reasonable, I would assume. And I got a lot of listings. So this is my assumption. Not everyone thought that those were reasonable. Some people would go, no, I need I need you to guarantee the 100% price. Okay, not a problem. Some people would say, I'm not going to list at 7%. I'm not going to list at 8%. No problem. That's why we always have a backup plan. That's why I always have a backup plan when I roll my irresistible offer out. Now, I'll tell you that most people found that offer to be irresistible. I got a lot of listings on a guaranteed sale at a higher commission. A lot. People that didn't list pretty much always listed with me anyway. They just listed on one of my other offers. All right, so back here, any questions on this at all before I go over the claim that I'm running now? I know Monique saw this a couple of days ago. So Monique, I'll go over what we went over in the listing session in Mastery. But does anyone have any questions on those? Nope. All right. So the unique selling proposition that I currently use is one that I'm pretty excited about. And it's a compensation structure. Okay, so it's a compensation structure. And this is what I do. I am offering to list your house and get you market value for your property for as little as 0% commission, as low as 0% commission. So you get market value. In a lot of cases, you get more for as low as 0%. Now, my specific personal claim is I get my sellers typically get my sellers between 2% and 4% more for their property than when they list with another real estate agent, not realtor. Okay. If you're a realtor here, you can't disparage another realtor. So I typically get my sellers between 2% and 4% more for their property than if listed with another real estate agent. And I don't charge any commission. So you're a seller. How irresistible is that to at least see how? Okay. How irresistible is it? It's pretty irresistible. So, with the exception of Mike and Monique, you guys aren't allowed to answer because you've recently seen it. How would I go about doing that? What kind of terms would I need to put in place to go about offering this? Why would I list for 0%? That's probably the question. So if you're a listing agent, okay, how many of you are going, I can't make no money on a listing, right? Okay, so if that's you, can you see a way that I might still make any sort of revenue on a listing if I was doing this? Can you see a way? So if the seller's not paying me any commission, how am I going to make any revenue? Sheila, I thought you raised your hand.
If
Oh,
you sold it for more than market value and you took in, you retained the additional amount over the asking price, but in this market, how are you going to do that?
okay. So that's a net listing. That's illegal, but
Oh.
that's a good, really, really, really good guess. Okay. So can't do that, but that's a very good guess. I like the way you're thinking. Okay. So I list your house. I don't charge you commission. How do I still make revenue?
The buyer pays it.
Yeah. Who said TJ? Yeah.
Yep.
Perfect. Yeah. Buyer pays it. So I'm going to show you guys a couple of different things, and this is going to get into a USP that I'm going to encourage you guys to use. If you do this, I have a platform for you. If you go with your own USP, I'm here teaching this. I'm here teaching this so that you can come up with your own USP. You don't have to rely on me, but if anyone here does want to use my unique selling proposition, this is how I do it. So let's jump here. This is how I present. So my claim is sellers that work with me typically net between 2% and 4% more than if they listed with another real estate agent. And I do have numbers to back that up. And I don't charge a commission. So when I get to the property, I present off of a plan kind of like this. So essentially, I lay out my team. This is a recent design, guys. So I've not implemented this specific presentation. But it's a design that I've worked on and it's kind of ready for anyone to implement. I put my resume in the middle of this menu. So if anyone's been to Waffle House, this is a Waffle House style menu. It's really big. This is not a trifold brochure and it's not on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. It's on a big sheet, legal size at least. Okay, so I present my menu down the middle, and then I present my 4 keys to thriving as a seller. So preparation, presentation, promotion, price. If you haven't seen that, go watch the mastery videos on this. And then after we choose a price strategy, so I lay out 3 price strategies. Price a little bit low and drive a whole bunch of offers. Price at market value, maybe not drive tons of offers, but have a decent chance of selling at your price. Price a percent or two high and take a shot, and lower the price if you don't get it. So assuming that I present and someone is good pricing low and driving bids, driving offers, then I would present them with my listing plans. So I have a silver listing plan. It's just basic. I try to get people off of this silver listing plan, and I list it at 4%. By the way, seller, this 4% is traditional. And I'll probably rethink this with the new commission rules. I would rethink this, but this 4% also includes some buyer agent compensation. We could go with a gold listing that's a little bit more of my traditional listing, and this is everything that you get. And we list this at 5.5%. This includes buyer firm commission. Or we go with the Thrive listing plan. So I want you guys to look at this through the lens of an irresistible offer. So you're a seller. I'll guarantee that I get you at least X within 7 days. Okay. I'll guarantee. So you've got a $400,000 house. This is the way that I would present it to you. So if you were to, you've got a house that we know is worth 400,000. Okay. If you listed traditionally, let's just assume a 6% listing commission. So 400,000, and we take that 6% listing commission off, you would have gotten a net of 376,000 if you listed with a traditional real estate agent that did a 6% listing, right? That's right. Okay, so 376 is what you would get. I'll guarantee you at least 370 within 7 days. Probably more, because most of my sellers get 2 to 4% more net than when listed with others. So, but I'll guarantee you 370 at least. Okay. And if I don't get your 370, I'll make up some of the loss out of what I make. Okay. We've got a price guarantee. I'm going to do all these different things. I am going to pay for your home inspection. I'm going to pay for up to $1,000 of pre-listing repairs. I'm going to pay for a free home warranty that we can use to market and give a buyer. Okay. In addition to all these other traditional things. At the end of the day, at the end of the deal, you're going to pay me a $3,500 marketing fee, and I'll get the buyer to cover the rest of my commission. Okay. And I do that through a buyer premium. So buyers are, when I advertise a listing, I tell the winning buyer, I disclose it very strongly. Winning buyer adds a 6% buyer premium on top of their purchase price. Okay, so that's how I do that. Now, sellers in a case like this, if I present it well, and Mike and I have talked about this recently. Mike, we got to jump on the phone again if you can hear me. We've been ironing out how to pitch this and present it. So Mike mentioned that he had a good appointment recently. I pitched it the first couple of times to sellers and they were like, no, I think we just want to go with the listing. The last couple of times I've pitched it to sellers, they've gotten really excited and they've wanted to take this plan. So I basically make the claim. I get 2 to 4% more than other agents can get you. And I don't charge a commission. This is a marketing fee, and this marketing fee covers these things that I do. So I'm essentially covering my cost with their marketing fee. And then I make my profit out of the buyer premium that gets added to the final purchase price. Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Considering the new NAR regulations,
Mhm.
are you saying that you're gonna tack it on top of the buyer's commission?
Correct.
Wow.
Yep. As a matter of fact, it's a really good workaround to combat the new settlement. It's actually a really good workaround to combat that. So as long as everyone knows what's happening, so we disclose it very strongly on the front end for the buyer to see.
Is that something realistic though?
Yep, it's happening every day. Happening every day. I'll show you guys how in a second. So I don't necessarily want this workshop to just be a big pitch or anything like that. I am pitching this platform. Um, the reality is I just want you guys to start using irresistible offers and unique selling propositions in your business in general, whether you use this one or not. I want you to start using unique selling propositions. And it doesn't have to be this one. This is the one that I'm using. Okay. So any of them. And when you do, you probably need to offer some alternative plans for people to choose from. So I've gotten listings in the last couple of months that I've taken listings that I wouldn't have otherwise had I not offered this plan. Get to the house, I present it. They say we're more comfortable in the middle, we're more comfortable over here. That's fine. Not a problem. I got the appointment through the unique selling proposition. I'm still learning how to pitch this in a way that sellers get excited, but the last couple of sellers I pitched it to, they've gotten excited, and we have listings coming up on this plan. So here's the way that I use this particular unique selling proposition. So first off is the seller needs to agree to price at my price at the price I recommend. If they don't, we'll list on one of the other platforms. I need them to price low and drive bids. So immediately I'm typically pricing the house somewhere in the 85% range of what full market value would have been. Okay. So what happens when you put it online is you say, hey, all bids are to be submitted through Easy Real Estate Offer, and here's the link for the property. And the buyer comes in and they say, oh, hey, here's the property. And they go, all right, I want to place a bid on this property. So they go in, and assuming you've priced the house appropriately and marketed normally, if you price the house at full market value, it's not going to work. But assuming that you've priced the house appropriately, what ends up happening is buyers come in and they will put their bids in. And their bids are simply a bid price. It doesn't list any other terms. This is not an auction, by the way. There's a lot of several key differences between this and an auction, but it does run similar to an auction. And in the description here, you just say what happens. Property is subject to a 3% buyer premium that's going to be added to the accepted bid. And what happens at the time that you accept a final bid, the seller says, hey, I want that offer. That 3% or 6% or 10% or 1% or whatever you're doing it for, that premium gets added on top of their bid price, and the contract is written at the combined price. So buyer bids up to $300,000. $18,000 is the buyer premium. Let's just say this is all negotiable. It's up to you and your seller. But let's just say $18,000 is the buyer premium. $18,000 gets added on top of the 300, and then it just gets paid out traditionally. But you're essentially negotiating the seller net before you negotiate the seller gross. That's basically how it works. Which, by the way, I've run into a few situations recently where there is no compensation offered in the MLS, and the seller says no, and we've negotiated the seller net, and then we've gone back to the seller and said, hey, we need to add $10,000 to this to cover the buyer closing costs. Okay, so you cover $10,000 in closing costs, we'll add $10,000 to the price, and then those closing costs get paid to me as commission. That's how I've done a few times recently with less than ideal with commissions that don't cover what I charge the buyer. Okay. Buyers are happy, sellers are happy, assuming that there's not an appraisal issue. Okay. So this is exactly how I would do this. And we've got several sellers that are excited about it. Now, remember, to work, if you do something like this to work, you need to price the house appropriately to drive a lot of bids. So generally speaking, if you can price the house at 85, 90% of market value, you're going to get a lot of buyer bids, regardless of what the market's like. Sheila, you're in Florida. Market's not so great, right? Okay. If you put a house on at 85% of market value, how great is the market for that house?
A lot better.
Yeah, a lot better. So you'll get bids. You'll bid the house up if you start appropriately. So seller does not have to accept bids through this platform, but it's a way that they can drive bids up. When I do this, 2 to 4% more than market value is the claim that I'm willing to make. More than seller net. Let me say that. That's the claim. I'm not willing to say that your price is going to end up being netting 2% more than 100% of market value, but I'm willing to make the claim that I'll get them between 2 and 4% of more than they would have gotten in a traditional listing. And then I guarantee it. Okay.
What happens if you don't get 90% of the appraised value by the referee?
So this is just any traditional listing. So seller does not have to accept any bids on this. So this isn't only a probate thing. If you don't get what you needed to get according to the referee, I'm assuming California, then the seller does not have to accept it. You just put terms in that say, hey, this is subject to the court referee's approval, the probate referee's approval. It's not hard to do that. And the seller is not obligated to accept the high price. Seller's not obligated to wait the bidding period either. So let's say you put a bid period up of 7 days and the first bid that comes in is what the seller wants. They can take the house down and accept that first bid. They can turn them all down. They can accept the lowest bid, the highest bid, a bid in the middle. They can wait longer than the bid period, shorter than the bid period. Everything is negotiable. All this is doing is it's accepting those initial bids and creating a bit of a buyer frenzy. And it's putting the buyer premium on top of the bid price. Okay. Questions? Is this confusing to anyone? Kind of like any breaking anybody's brain? Quiet room. All right. So, any questions on unique selling propositions? If not, I will kind of show you guys. Is anyone interested in seeing a little bit more about this? By the way, I've presented this before to agents and they've said, hey, not for me. I don't want anyone to feel like this is something that I'm exclusively pitching. It's one of the reasons why I like to give other unique selling proposition examples. Bottom line for me, I want you to put a unique selling proposition for your business together. It's going to separate you. It's going to get you more appointments. It's going to win you a lot more business, regardless of the USP that you go with. But you need to have a unique selling proposition. You need a unique selling proposition. This is just one. Okay. If anyone does want to review this, I'm happy to review. And you could use this platform for as little as $0. Okay. The platform makes a money out of your buyer premiums. So they make 1% of whatever the buyer pays. The buyer puts that as a premium on top of the price. So if the buyer bids up to 300, the platform's going to charge the buyer $3,000 for buying a listing through this platform. That's how they make their money. Monique.
So it is making more sense now, this time around listening to it, because one of the things that I was kind of questioning was whether that would lessen the pool of buyers by having them pay the compensation or the premium. But it does make sense now because I guess the first time around I missed marketing it at 85% of the value, the market value. So my question would be now, my follow-up question would be, because I know you said it would just be a flat fee of the 3,500. So essentially that is the only compensation as listing agent that you would be receiving, or when the buyer is paying that premium, there's some ways now that you're able to be able to be compensated.
The way that I've set mine up, okay, this is me. This is not how other people using this platform work. This is me. My compensation from the seller is $3,500 marketing fee. My compensation from the buyer for buying one of my listings through the platform is a portion of that buyer premium. Okay. So if my buyer premium is 6%, how I would do it in my market, so I would let 2.5% of that buyer premium go to the buyer's agent, and 3.5% would come to me. That's how I would do it in my market. And then I'd get 3,500 from the seller as a marketing fee. This type of structure is done almost identical to this by auctioneers every day. Now, we're not auctioneers. We're not running this as an auction. There are some legitimate legal nuances here that make this not an auction. But it is borrowing a bit of the structure from auctioneers, and they do it all day long. Auctioneers typically charge, and I know this varies from market to market, but they usually charge a 10% buyer premium, and they typically charge a marketing fee to the seller. And the seller normally pays that marketing fee up front. So they might say, hey, I'm going to drive a whole bunch of traffic to your listing, and I'm going to charge you $5,000 up front to market and bring buyers to your listing. And at the end of the day, you get what we've bid it up to, and I get this 10% buyer premium that the buyer pays me for buying your house. That's how auctioneers typically run. So we're borrowing that pieces of that concept for our listings. Okay, so this property here is sort of an example, and it's not the perfect example. Let me see if I can find another example. So what I can't see are whether there are bids on properties or not. So ending in 8 days, ending in 7 days. These are just properties that are on here now. There's an agent in Florida that does this all the time. All the time. A huge agent, one of the top agents in the country, just fills this site up. And he gets his listings by offering a 0% commission. There's an agent in Rhode Island that he says 0% listing, and he puts a lot of listings on here as well. So let's just kind of go in here. I'm just going to pick a property and hope that there's bids on it, because I don't know where these people are pricing their house. So no bids. What happens if there's bids? You would just see a list of the bidders' names and their prices down here under this bid history. And then you set the bid increment. And the buyer goes in and says, hey, I want to bid 285. So theoretically, this property, which is listed in the MLS, so there's no real difference in how you market the property. You just say, if you're going to bid on the house, you do it through this link. Theoretically, this property is worth $310,000. Okay. I don't know what this property is worth. I have no idea I don't know anything about this market. But let's say it's worth 310. You're going to get a lot of buyer action. Okay. Buyers come in, they sign a document before they're allowed to bid. They have to load their pre-approval. They have to load their proof of funds. The site sets their bid limit based on their pre-approval. Okay. So the site basically is verifying the part owner of the site is a community bank, so they're verifying qualification. Okay. And then they tell the buyer, hey, you're allowed to bid up to 300,000 based on your qualification, knowing that we're going to have to put your buyer premium on top of that final bid price. That's how the site does it. Buyer comes in and they bid. and they've signed that, hey, they need to look at the buyer premium, whatever their final bid price is, that they're going to add 6% to it. Okay. Or 2% or whatever was set by the listing agent. Okay. They bid it up to 300. They put their 6% on top. They sign the contract at the gross price. Okay, so 300, 6% of 300 is 18,000. So they would sign a contract at 318, but the sellers negotiated 300. So the seller, when we're negotiating for the seller sees what they're going to get. Okay. Make a little bit more sense? A little bit? TJ.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And so how much of the buyer premium do you get to keep? Like what percentage of that
It
percentage?
depends on whether there's a buyer's agent. Okay.
Well, I mean, let me rephrase that. How much does Easy Real Estate offers take from that percentage?
1% with a $5,000 cap. So if
Okay.
it's over 500,000, then it caps at the five, but they take 1%. So whatever you
Okay.
want, you need to add a percent to it.
Gotcha. And is there like a sign-on fee or anything like that?
Yeah, so sign-on fee. This is where it gets interesting. So the sign-on fee, I presented this several months ago before I'd done any deals in it or even presented it.
Mhm.
And the sign-on fee was either 500 or 1500 one time. They still have that as an option. They are currently allowing me to sponsor anyone that I want, cover the fee for you, and get compensated back with 1/4% of your first 3 deals. So anyone that signs up is going to have a choice. You can either sign up, pay say 500 or $1,500 sign-on fee, either one, and that's just one time, or ask me to cover it for you. If I cover it for you, then your first 3 deals, you need to add 1/4% to your buyer premium, and I get the quarter. Okay.
Okay.
So it's
Yeah.
their sponsorship, a sponsorship plan that they've offered me. Okay. Now, if I'm going to do that for anyone, I kind of want to interview you and make sure that you can present your listing appointment really well in your listing appointment. It also lets me take the seat back if you're not doing deals. So, and I will, like if I've paid someone sign-on fee and sponsored you, then I'll take the seat back if you haven't done anything within about 6 months or so.
Gotcha. Okay.
Or you can
What's
just
it?
sign up yourself and then it's yours
Yeah.
forever. Sheila.
What's the difference between the
Yeah.
500 and the 1500
Um,
sign up?
Featured listings, marketing, additional classes, masterminds, coaching, things like that.
Okay.
So anybody that I sponsor automatically gets that kind of additional stuff.
Okay. But
So the 500
not
is
like
just pretty basic.
it doesn't limit how many listings you can put on.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. No
Cool.
limit. Yeah. It's basically coaching and some extra marketing services. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So there's a site. Sheila, was that your question as well?
Yeah, I wanted to know, do you have to pay per each listing or can you do unlimited listings for that one fee?
You can pay extra for featured properties. If you've got the $1,500, I think you get an extra level of featured properties. So easy
So
to,
it's a one-time fee. You can list as many properties as you want
yeah,
continuously for
yep,
1,500.
yeah, one-time fee.
And
Now,
that's not annually, that's just one time.
yeah, just one time. Just recognize that
Yeah.
they're gonna make their 1% of your buyer premium. Okay.
Right.
So whatever you want, you need to add a percent to it.
Okay.
Okay. So if you want a 6% buyer premium, you need to make it 7. Now I want 6, so my premium is 7. That's what I list at. Okay. Now the way that I do my guarantee, and this is just me, nobody else is doing this. You guys are welcome to borrow it if you want or use it if you want. The way I do my guarantee is when I sell a house on the platform, I am making 3.5% plus the seller's $3,500 marketing fee at closing. If I haven't hit my guaranteed dollar amount, Every dollar less than my guarantee, I take it out of what I was going to make with a limit. It's not unlimited. I take it out of what I was going to make out of the buyer premium with a limit. So I won't ever go to zero. I'll at least cover my costs. Okay. About 20% of all the deals that go through here, when done properly, about 20%, it used to be more, and it can be more. About 20%, there's no buyer agent. So, especially when you price a house low, you get a lot of people that come through that go, "Hey, I'm just going to do this. I don't need to involve my agent." So there's no buyer agent. So you end up maybe not dual representing, but dual siding the whole commission on their current numbers are 19+% on that. I think it could be a lot more if the listings are structured properly. And listen, if a seller does not want to structure the listing properly to work on easy real estate offer, I will do a traditional listing and I will not put the listing on easy. Okay. I only do it if they're willing to price low and bid up. And I've got a specific way. So Monique was in class Friday. We talked about my way of presenting pricing options, and then I let the seller select into which of my 3 pricing options I want to go before I present how I do the guarantee. So if the seller says, "Hey, we want a whole bunch of offers and we want to bid it up," then I go and I say, "This is how we do it." Okay. If they say, "No, we want to list at market value," I say, "This is not the option for you. Let's list traditionally." So I let them select in based on which price strategy they're most comfortable with. So this is, if you guys want to see kind of how it's done, it's so easyrealestateoffer.com is the public side. Easy to get certified is the agent side for agents that want more information. And then the only thing that I would ask if you're applying, and this has changed, is say you heard it from me. Okay. If you want me to cover your sign up fee, you have to come straight to me. So I have something separate where I can cover your sign up fee. And that just comes directly to me, and then we put you in a different way. But if you guys are signing up separately, you can just go here and just tell them, "Hey, I want Bruce told me about it." There's a place to say that. Okay. All right. Questions, comments? Everybody that's here, I assume at least you haven't been completely turned off by the possibility of this. I've got a broker, really, really good friend of mine, and we share co-working space. He runs a brokerage and he doesn't like being in the office with his agents all day long. So we split an office space just when we need to do deep work. And I showed him and he said, "Nope, it'll never work." So I want you guys to know that it doesn't bother me if somebody doesn't see the possibility and how the USP works on this. If they don't see it working, it doesn't bother me. I think you're wrong, but it doesn't bother me. I think that this is USP that gets a lot of extra appointments if positioned properly, especially through marketing. All right. Any other questions? I'm going to stop my share and just kind of come back here and chat with you guys for a few minutes if you need to. Seller does not, Shelly, yeah, seller does not have to wait for the auction to end. So it's not an auction. Auctions, the way that auctions work is buyers pre-agree to a set of terms. So they go in and they say, "I have 10% down. Here's my deposit. I agree to turn my credit report over. I agree to go with this lender. I agree to go with these terms. I agree no closing costs. I agree with all these other things." And they're signing that they agree with all those other things. And in a traditional auction, the only thing left to negotiate is just the price. And at the end of the auction period, the highest price wins automatically. Seller's obligated to take it in most auction situations. Okay. With this, those preliminary terms are not pre-agreed to. So when you see a bid price come in, you need to get on the phone and call and ask about the additional terms. If you see additional terms on day one and you have 6 days left in your bidding process and the seller says, we want that offer, take it off of the site, write the offer up. You've done your job. Nobody has to wait. If you get to the end of the 7 or 3 or however long you set your bid window, if you get to the end of it and there's not one that's acceptable, don't accept an offer. Okay. So it's different in that way from a traditional auction. All right. Anything else? If not, I will let you guys go. If anyone is interested and they want a sponsorship, email me directly, bruce@probatemastery.com.
Bruce, will you hold a brief training on this uh, auction platform?
Yeah, sure. So now this stuff over here is going to easy-to-get-certified.com is going to show you a good amount that I can't show you. I not can't. A good amount that I'm not as much of an expert on, but I will just say that when you list, you're just going to put your listing in. You're going to advertise it everywhere that you would normally advertise. Everywhere you'd normally advertise MLS. Everything that's just going to say bids to be submitted through Easy Real Estate Offer, and then you'll put your property ID number in there. So they just go to that link to qualify, to load their pre-qualification and submit their bid. I will tell you that some buyer's agents, depending on the market, are not going to like their buyer's bid being public. Okay. It's happened here. Okay. They don't like their buyer bid being public. They send their offer directly to me. That's fine. I'm I'm not I'm not picky. I don't want my buyer's bids being public either. Okay. So if somebody sends an offer directly to me, that's fine. I'll look at it. I'll present it. I'll do everything that I'm supposed to do. But basically, we are um, uh, highly encouraging people to submit their bids here. Okay. And then when they submit their bid, they see what their final, given this bid price, they see what their final price is going to be if their bid gets accepted. Okay. Um, I would train a little bit more on the site, but the reality is I'm not sure exactly what else to train on it. It's probably going to need to be more direct questions, because putting the listing in is not complicated. It's pretty easy. Um, Seeing what your bids are is pretty easy. You get notified via email when bids go in. I don't have an active listing in here to show you to show you exactly what it looks like, but I've gone through it and I've seen it all on the Easy to Get Certified site. And I've seen it on a one that one of my agents put in as well. So you get an email says, "Hey, new bid submitted. Here's the agent that submitted it. If there's an agent, here's the buyer that submitted it. You need to make a call. Hey, I got your bid on 123 Main Street. Just wanted to ask you a few things so that I could get the other terms. What bank are you going with? How much down payment are you doing? What kind of loan? What's your close date? Asking for closing costs. You just do your normal negotiation at that point. So you are not negotiating the terms on the site. You're just accepting your bid, and the buyer premium gets added on the site. Okay. Lionel, do you have any other specific questions that I can answer? I want to give you whatever you need. I I, I don't um I can't think of what to answer without the questions though. So, and you can give me a call after as well if you want to have a conversation and look a little bit closer.
Maybe in FAQs we'll do to
Mhm.
start with.
Yep. So go to a lot of FAQs on the easy to get certified page as well. And then there's also this guy down at the bottom of the easy to get certified page. Oh, here we go. Frequently asked questions. And then Dave is one of the owners. He's actually the banker. By the way, total side note, this is another thing that the platform does. They're owned half part owned by a community bank. And anybody that wants to apply and pass a background check and not take um, a class to be a mortgage loan officer and get an MLO number, you can become a community bank employee and get a commission if loans run through the platform. So you can get a half a percent of any loan that goes through the platform. So if somebody comes in and they don't have a lender and they want to bid and they don't have a pre-qualification letter, the bank is going to call them and get them pre-qualified. If you're approved and you have to pass background check and get onto the roster, if you're approved to do so and they get a loan through the bank, they buy the house with a loan that they got through your site, you get a 0.5% of the loan value. Okay, without having to be a loan officer, because technically you're not their community bank and it allows them to work around traditional LO regulations. So not everybody does that, but it is something pretty cool. I have not become one yet. I need to. I haven't. I've been telling them I have an application. I just haven't filled it out. I've procrastinated. So I need to stop procrastinating on that. Right. Oh, and I apologize. I thought I was still sharing my screen. So Lionel, I thought I was sharing my screen and showing you where the FAQs were. I'll go back to those. So easy to get certified.com. And then down the page, there is an FAQs section. Okay. And by the way, anybody that does this, I just noticed a higher price. This price right here, if you're going to get the lower price, so the 500 or 1500, you need to, I need to, if you're going to buy it yourself, I need to introduce you to them. They've gone up in price, but they promised me that they wouldn't raise the prices on anyone that I brought. Okay. So testimonials, FAQs, pretty much anything that you want is here on Easy to Get Certified. All right. Cool. Any other questions? If not, I'll let you guys go for the day. I'm glad it was a small crowd. I kind of bumped through the presenting your USP today. I'll do better next time, a little bit more organized next time.
Bruce, can I ask you a question that's not about this?
Sure.
This is about the program that's earned and the website that we can use. I forgot what it's called. The lead or not the estate exempt. That's what it is. Okay. I had called them to find out, that I wanted to get one of the programs, and they said that I have to go back and ask to get something to show them that I am a member, a number. They wanted me to get some kind of an ID number. Do you know what they're talking about?
No, I have a call with them later this week.
Okay.
I'll ask and I'll get back to you. Let me make a note.
Okay.
Hold on one second. I don't want to forget.
They said I would get a significant discount, but I didn't have what they were talking about. And I did call Probate Mastery, and the ladies, they didn't know what I was talking about either.
Yeah, that's an estate exec software rule, and I don't think that was the case when we set it up. Chad set that up.
Yeah.
So okay.
All right, thank
I
you.
have just added that to my to-dos. When I talk to them, I'll find out what number that is, and I'll get you a number, any number that you need. Okay. All right. Perfect.
Bruce, I have a quick question. I actually had to step out for a meeting at 1 o'clock, so I missed maybe like 30 minutes or so. Is there going to be a recording sent?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Definitely. Definitely. You kind of got you kind of missed the importance of having a unique selling proposition. We hadn't really gotten into in the beginning the um, examples and techniques. I mainly wanted to give more examples and techniques of a strong, unique selling proposition. I'll definitely get you the recording.
Okay. I
But
appreciate
it wasn't, I wouldn't say that you missed a whole lot. It's
Okay.
my first time teaching this specific USP class. I'll do it differently next time as well. So I'll get you the recording and even slides.
Okay, no problem. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Anybody else? I saw Ron jump in and out. Oh, there's Ron. Hey, Ron. You're late. All right. Ron, I'll shoot me a text or something and we can chat off call.
Okay.
There you are. Yeah, we're just wrapping up.
Oh, sorry about that. I had my time wrong. I just realized it.
I'll send you a
Hold on a second.
recording and I'll send you a recording and then we need to catch up anyway.
Okay, that sounds good. Thanks.
Good. Okay. Okay, everybody. Thanks so much. See you next time.